NEC Section 300.22 states that raceways and equipment shall not block access. This means where raceways or equipment would block access to required attic access panels, crawl spaces, or other required spaces, either the facility shall be relocated or other means provided to ensure accessibility. The intent of this code is to maintain clear and safe access to these areas for inspection, maintenance, and other necessary tasks. Consider an attic access panel situated between multiple recessed conduit lights. If the conduit or electrical boxes for these lights run directly across the opening, making it difficult or impossible to safely enter the attic, this would be a violation of Section 300.22. The solution would be to reroute the conduit or boxes to provide unobstructed access. The NEC further specifies dimensions for attic access panels, particularly where those panels are provided for access to electrical equipment. These access panels must be no less than 22 inches by 30 inches, or 559 mm by 762 mm. This size requirement ensures that there is adequate space to maneuver and work on the equipment. Section 312.3 is also relevant. This section focuses on maintaining working space around electrical equipment. Consider an electrical panel located in a crawl space. If the panel is obstructed by piping, ductwork, or other equipment, it would violate Section 312.3 because it impedes safe and effective access for maintenance and repairs. These codes aim to ensure a safe working environment for electricians and other personnel who need to access electrical equipment. Proper planning and execution of electrical installations are crucial to avoid violations and maintain code compliance. Think about an example scenario where a junction box is installed directly in front of an attic access hatch, preventing easy entry. To rectify this, you would need to relocate the junction box to either side of the hatch, ensuring the opening remains clear. This relocation might involve extending the wiring, so it is vital to use appropriate wire sizes and connectors to maintain circuit integrity. Another potential issue arises with cable runs that are not properly secured or supported. If these cables sag or droop across an access point, they can obstruct entry and create a safety hazard. Properly securing these cables using cable ties or other approved methods will keep the access clear. Regularly inspect installations to ensure that no new obstructions have been introduced over time. For instance, items stored near access panels can inadvertently block them. Remind occupants to keep these areas clear. When rerouting electrical components to comply with Section 300.22, make sure to follow all applicable NEC guidelines for wiring methods, box fill, and conductor directing. These guidelines ensure that the modifications maintain the electrical system safety and functionality. Consider the situation where a homeowner decides to install additional insulation in their attic. If the insulation covers or obstructs access to electrical junction boxes or equipment, it would violate Section 300.22. Clear labeling of the location of electrical components can help prevent accidental obstruction. Use permanent markers to clearly mark the location of junction boxes and other equipment. Another important aspect is proper documentation. Maintain records of all electrical installations, including the location of access panels and the routing of raceways and equipment. This documentation can be valuable during inspections or when performing maintenance. When working in attics or crawl spaces, always prioritize safety. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment, including eye protection gloves and a dust mask. Be aware of potential hazards such as exposed wiring, sharp objects, and pests. To ensure you are working with the most up-to-date information, consult the latest edition of the NEC. The NEC is updated every 3 years, and it is essential to stay current with the latest revisions. When making changes to electrical installations, it is generally a good idea to consult with a qualified electrician. An electrician can help ensure that the work is done safely and in compliance with all applicable codes. Consider the scenario where an electrician is installing new wiring for a lighting circuit in an attic. The electrician should carefully plan the routing of the wiring to avoid blocking access to the attic hatch. This might involve running the wiring along the edges of the attic or using conduit to protect the wiring from damage. In crawl spaces, it is important to ensure that there is adequate ventilation. Poor ventilation can lead to moisture buildup, which can damage electrical equipment and create a safety hazard. Install vents to improve airflow and reduce the risk of moisture problems. Proper grounding of electrical equipment is essential for safety. Make sure that all electrical equipment is properly grounded according to NEC guidelines. This will help protect against electric shock and prevent equipment damage. Regularly test ground fault circuit interrupters, commonly referred to as GFCIs, to ensure that they are functioning properly. GFCIs are designed to protect against electrical shock by quickly interrupting the circuit when a ground fault is detected. When installing electrical equipment in damp or wet locations, use equipment that is rated for those environments. This will help protect the equipment from corrosion and prevent electrical hazards. When working with electricity, always follow lockout/tagout procedures to de-energize the circuit before beginning work. This will help prevent accidental electrical shock. Before beginning any electrical work, carefully inspect the area for potential hazards. Look for exposed wiring, damaged equipment, and other safety risks. Be sure to use the right tools for the job. Using the wrong tools can damage equipment and create a safety hazard. Always keep your work area clean and organized. A cluttered work area can increase the risk of accidents. After completing any electrical work, thoroughly inspect the installation to ensure that it is safe and compliant with all applicable codes. Consider the case where a homeowner is adding a new outlet to their basement. They need to ensure that the wiring does not block access to the crawl space entrance. They should also make sure that the outlet is properly grounded and protected by a GFCI if required by code. When running wiring through walls or ceilings, use appropriate methods to protect the wiring from damage. This might involve using conduit or cable protectors. Always follow the manufacturer's instructions when installing electrical equipment. This will help ensure that the equipment is installed correctly and safely. When working with electricity, always be aware of your surroundings. Avoid distractions and concentrate on the task at hand. If you are unsure about any aspect of electrical work, consult with a qualified electrician. It is always better to be safe than sorry. Consider the situation where a commercial building is undergoing renovations. The electrical contractor needs to ensure that the new wiring and equipment do not block access to the fire alarm panel. They also need to make sure that the electrical work complies with all applicable building codes. Remember that electrical codes are constantly evolving. Stay informed about the latest changes to the NEC and other relevant codes. Continuing education is essential for electricians and other electrical professionals. Take advantage of training opportunities to improve your skills and knowledge. Always prioritize safety when working with electricity. Your life and the lives of others depend on it. When working in attics or crawl spaces, be aware of the potential for asbestos exposure. If you suspect that asbestos is present, take appropriate precautions to protect yourself. Wear a respirator and follow all applicable regulations for asbestos handling. Consider the scenario where a homeowner is installing a new ceiling fan. They need to make sure that the wiring does not block access to the attic. They should also make sure that the fan is properly supported and wired according to NEC guidelines. When installing recessed lighting, be sure to use fixtures that are rated for contact with insulation, commonly known as IC-rated fixtures. This will help prevent overheating and reduce the risk of fire. When working with aluminum wiring, use connectors that are specifically designed for aluminum wiring. This will help prevent corrosion and ensure a reliable connection. Regularly inspect electrical panels for signs of damage or corrosion. Replace any damaged components promptly. Be sure to label all circuits in the electrical panel clearly. This will help make it easier to identify circuits in the future. Consider the situation where a building owner is installing a solar panel system. They need to make sure that the wiring and equipment do not block access to the roof. They should also make sure that the solar panel system is installed according to all applicable codes and regulations. When installing electrical equipment outdoors, use equipment that is rated for outdoor use. This will help protect the equipment from the elements and prevent electrical hazards. When burying electrical wiring, use wiring that is rated for direct burial. This will help protect the wiring from damage. Always call before you dig to avoid damaging underground utilities. Consider the scenario where a business owner is installing an electric vehicle charging station. They need to make sure that the wiring and equipment do not block access to parking spaces. They should also make sure that the charging station is installed according to all applicable codes and regulations.